For project number 1, we are going to be using this package of napkins, and we are also going to use the same package for all of these. I'm going to use a couple of signs, a bank that I got from Dollar Tree. So it's the house sign, the one with the beads. I also have a summer sign that we'll be using after a while. We're going to start with the little house, and we're going to just press down on this and it will pop right out. It is covered with a paper, so you want to be sure that you clean that off of the back of your house. And scrape it off. And then, if you gently scrape, you can get the paper off without having to paint the bottom. So it's like there's a print on the top and like a papery backing. And I was able to save that so that I don't have to worry about painting and waiting for the paint to dry. But you can take yours completely off and just paint it with some white chalk paint, dry it, and it'll be perfect. So I scraped a little too hard here. I got a little spot, but I'm going to show you how to fix that. Just take an acrylic paint marker or paint pen, dot it on there, and then I'm going to take a napkin and just blot it off. And that covers it up nicely. And the reason we want to do that is because you'll be able to see through this one ply of napkin. We do separate these 2-ply napkins into 1 ply. We have less wrinkle in that way, so that's the way we're going to do it. I'm going to use a glue stick here and put this all the way on here, a nice full coverage so that it will adhere down flat. You can use Mod Podge or something else if you would like, but you got to be really careful because the napkins are so fragile that they will tear. So just keep that in mind if you're going to use Mod Podge or like a school glue for this. I'm going to gently place it down where I want it and then pat it down. Again, this is really, really thin. I'm going to use my little Mod Podge roller here and just make sure that I press out any wrinkles or bubbles that might be in there. Inevitably, there are going to be some projects where you just get some bubbles, lines, or wrinkles, and that's okay too. So you can pull your edges off like this, or you can just take a sanding block, I get mine at Dollar Tree, and just sand those down. And it gives it a nice clean edge like it was painted on here. And that's the look that I'm kind of going for. See, with that nice white backing, it makes those beautiful colors of this napkin really pop. And I chose the popsicles because of summer, but you can choose any napkins that you would like and apply that to any of these projects. I'm going to use some hot glue and flip that down on the back, put it right back in its original place, and press it down. You can paint the edge of the box if you would like. You can embellish it with stickers or whatever you would like. I'm going to make a little bow to go in the top. I just feel like it needs a little extra something up there. It's kind of cutesy. It's not the look for everybody, but like I've said before, I like to give you options, and then you can do whatever you want to do with yours. This is just for inspiration. So this is a little simple shoelace bow. I bump the camera. And then I'm just going to trim those tails down where they won't be in the way of our little popsicles. There's some really pretty summer napkins out right now. They have some that are fruit also, like watermelons and lemons, all kinds of pretty ones. But you can think further into the season for fall. You can use fall napkins for these projects and just change up your colors a little bit, and that would be fine too. This is an easy way to take a $1.25 package of napkins and make a lot of decor. We're going to get 5 pieces, and then there's actually more that you could do with this. So I decided once looking at this from all angles, like we do, that I wanted to add something extra on the outside. So I could have painted it, but I have this ribbon that fits almost perfectly. I had to just take a little bit off of the edge, and then it was a perfect fit for the outside of this. And it almost looks like we painted it plaid. So whatever colors, if you like this, whatever colors that are going to coordinate with your napkin, you can use to put on the outside of your little house. Just going to use a little bit of glue here and put this ribbon down. I only glue it on the bottom when I started it and at the end. So I just kind of pull it tightly so that it won't slip around hold it in place, and glue it down. And this would be easy to remove at another time if I wanted to use this box again for something.
Don't forget to like, comment, and share.
Another money-saving tip. For project number 2, we're going to use this little fall sign, and we're going to start by taking it apart. We're going to take the back off. Just use those little prongs to remove it, and then I'm going to take these beads off because I'm going to use something else. So you can pull them off with pliers or your hands. I start to try to get the paper off here with this little tool that I use all the time, but then I realized it can pretty much be pulled off by hand. But I couldn't get it all the way off. So here's another option. Grab your chalk paint, just go right over the top of it. You don't want to be there all day long trying to peel it, and then let it dry. So I decided I want to paint the outside, and I'm going to use some of this orange, this pumpkin chalk paint. Using chalk paint because it dries fast, but see, there's orange in there, and I think that will look cute. So if you like a little more color in your summer decor and you don't want to leave everything just a wood finish, you can use chalk paint on here. I did use 2 coats. I went on the inside and the outside as well, as you're seeing, so that it's nice and finished. Then I'm going to take my napkin, I'm going to tear the edge so I can separate my plies. I wanted to show y'all how to do that because it's really not that difficult. And then see how I want to place it. Again with the glue stick, going to give it nice, good coverage. And then I'm going to find my placement and then press it down. I'm not rubbing it right there with my hand because I don't want anything to come off. So just gently placing it, and then I'm going to use the roller. If you make a mess up on this and you tear it when you're trying to clean it up or trying to press it down, while that glue stick is still wet, you can pull that off of there. I've done that before. So you can pull your edges off, or again, you can use a little sanding block and go around the edges. That just really pops on that white. I love that. And then this orange looks really nice with it. Very summery, I think. Maybe this could go on a back porch if you have a pool party. Would be really cute. So I'm going to take a variety of beads. These are just thrifted, but you can get beads at Dollar Tree in all different colors. And I decided I wanted to make a little pattern with these plastic and wooden beads. The little teal or the aqua beads here, those are actually plastic. But the other ones are wood. I'm going to slip it on this yellow and white twine, baker's twine that I got from Dollar Tree. And I'm going to tie a few knots. Now the type of knot you make is not important, as long as it is a fat enough knot that your bead won't slide off of it, just like that. And you can secure it with a little bit of glue if you would like. Now you don't need to see me do the whole thing, but you see here I have a pattern. Blue, pink, and white. Once you get to the end and you have as many as you would like, tie it off. I'm going to add some hot glue right into this bead because it's a bigger diameter, and I just know that knot's going to slip. And so here's my little strand of beads, and I'm going to put my colorful beads back on this sign. You could also paint the beads you already have if you wanted to use those. I'm just going to put them aside for another project because I know I will be using those in another project on another day. So I'm going to use some hot glue. I'm just going to kind of put these back in a similar position as to where they were in the first place, and then cut off the excess. And this is what that little sign will look like. You could even hang this off your back door heading out to your patio. That would be cute. Project number 3. So I'm going to take these napkins, actually folded over, have a print on all 4 sides. So you get 4 pictures out of one napkin. So that's even better. I'm going to lay these down here on this poster board, and I think I want to cut these down a little bit more so I don't have a lot of excess to work with, and I know I don't want the words on the bottom, so I'm just going to cut those off. It doesn't matter how neatly you cut these out because we're going to be cutting them again shortly, and you want enough to glue. So I'm going to trim down what I don't need, put it aside and save it. I'm going to move these down I'm going to trim off a little bit more that I'm not going to need. And then I am going to put glue all over this piece of poster board. I want to make these thicker. So we're almost going to make them like appliques. We're going to put them down here onto our glue stick area and press them down. And I also use my little drying tool to try to get them dried a little bit quicker. That purple goes away and turns clear, so no worries. I took the other ply from the napkins and I'm just gently patting and rubbing out any little rough areas on here because I don't want these to be wrinkled. These are going to be used and I want them to be pretty for the sign we're going to use them on. So I'm going to just trim it down to make it more manageable, and I'm going to cut out the popsicles now. I have some little scissors here. They're my little Arteza scissors. And I like to use small scissors when working on these projects. So grab up your small scissors or go get your kids or your grandkids scissors when you're cutting little things like this, because it makes it so much easier to go around those curves and circles and get those cut out. For now, I'm going to leave those little popsicle sticks on there, but I will be cutting them off. So if you want to cut yours off, you can go ahead and do it at this point. You know, it's another one of those things when you get in a project and you're not sure exactly what direction you're going in. That's kind of how it was on this one. So I'm going to use this sign from Dollar Tree, but you can use any rectangle sign. I want to make it white without painting it. If you don't have paint, here's an option for you. Take that same poster board and just trim it off. I'm laying it on there to see how much I need. I'm using my rotary blade, cutting it off. Now I have the perfect covering for it. So you can use a glue stick, hot glue, tape, whatever you want to use to affix this down onto your poster board. I am just going to use the same glue stick. It is a jumbo glue stick, and it's going to work for all these projects for me. I guess you could Mod Podge it too if you wanted to, or use school glue. Press it down really nicely. Do the same thing here. I'm rolling it out to make sure that there's no little spots in there that's not stuck down. I don't want any gaps or bubbles. I don't want it to fall apart. So you're going to take like little wood embellishments. You're going to take sticker letters. You're going to use poster board stickers, whatever you want to use. I'm going to use these to spell out Sweet Summer. This is the same wording that was on the bottom of the napkin in the first place, but I decided I wanted to do it with wood. Okay, so now we're going to take popsicle sticks and we're going to give these popsicles a popsicle stick. Yep. I'm just going to trim these down so I get them the right size. I'm cutting about maybe a little over an inch off the end. Now is the time I'm going to curve out and cut off those popsicle sticks that are drawn on. I'm going to take those off, and after that's all done, we're going to just use a little hot glue and put them on a stick. Isn't that perfect? Yep. I think all of these coordinate nicely together. They all have that same theme. You can use the small ones on tiered trays. You can use this big one as a sign somewhere else. Really easy. This would be cute for party planning too. You know, get napkins and do your little party favors. If you want to see lots of inspirational, budget-friendly DIYs, be sure you subscribe to this channel. I would love to have you, and it is totally free to subscribe. All right, look at our little popsicles. They're so cute. Okay, so now I know I want to paint my letters. I'm going to take some of this wonderful paint here. This is a coordinating color. You can use whatever you want. See how it scoots around? I decided to use a dot of glue to hold my letters down, and then look at this. Look how rough you can be. And then it just peels off of there whenever you're done. So I'm going to paint all of my letters this color. I am going to let them dry. I'm going to use my little drying tool, my little heat gun. And then I can just add Sweet Summer to the top like this. Or I decided, how about use a little bit of this beautiful polka dot ribbon. I don't know why, but polka dots just remind me of the summer. It always has, maybe it's the polka dot bikini song. Y'all know that song? Yeah, maybe that's what it is. So I'm just going to take some of this Dollar Tree ribbon and I'm just going to wrap it around the sign and then squish that glue into the ribbon so that it stays down. Just using a spatula here. Use whatever you like. Protect your fingers though because it's really hot. And then I'm going to put my letters back down on here, making sure they're spaced how I like them. And while they're laying there, I'm just going to pick one up at a time so that I don't lose my placement and start tacking down those letters. Y'all, I have merch now. I do. I'm so excited. Be sure you follow me on my social media. Okay. Now, here we go. Finishing up sweet. And this is almost done. You can use a piece of scrapbook paper. You don't have to use anything. You can paint a stripe up there if you would like. However you want to do it. Just a bunch of ideas for you. This is all about inspiring you to make it your own. There's no wrong in crafting. Y'all know that. I say it all the time and it really is true. If it brings you joy, then it's perfect. Alright, I am spacing out my popsicles to see how I want them on here. And then after I get them where I like them, I'm just going to use that ruler to keep my spacing right from the bottom so I don't have a crazy looking line. If I don't use some type of a guide, I have a tendency for my line to kind of go upward or downward, but definitely it is not straight. I'm just going to add it to the stick and press on the stick because I don't want to push down my popsicle. I want to keep it having that little bit of elevation. So just doing it on the stick, and then you can see that. I decided to do a little bit of dry brushing of some of this white chalk paint over the top of the blue just to make it look a little more, I don't know, I like the look of it. A little more aged, I guess. Pretty much in the summertime, anything goes, right? Look at that. That is so cute. This is cutesy. This is little girl cutesy to me. See the dimension? You can see how they're raised there. A lot of dimension. I like it. Depth and dimension, as we like to say. Now, we're just going to put the sign that was on the side of the sign. We're just going to put that on the top of the sign now. Going to use the same string. And I'm just using the little scraps of popsicle sticks to hold them in place because I didn't have any paper. And it works perfectly. It's a cute little sign, isn't it? Really cute. Now for project number 4. We're going to take this little bank and remove the backing. I bought this a while back, but I'm still seeing it in my store every time I go in. It's just a piece of paper. We're going to take it off since the glass won't come out. I'm trying to decide, is it on the front or the back? Well, it's on the inside. The print is right there. So I'm going to take my scraper here and gently scrape this away. You can use Goo Gone, you can use fingernail polish remover, you can use whatever you would like, but I didn't want any of that substance making a nasty mess on the sides of my little bank here. So this was the best option. I'm going to use an alcohol wipe and just clean up the front. And then on the inside, I'm going to clean that up as well. And those little black pieces go everywhere. It's not vinyl, it's something else, like chipped fingernail polish, and it took me a while to get it all out. Going back to that poster board scrap, I'm going to trace out the square so that we know we have exactly the right size to go on the inside. So this is what it's going to be, trimmed all out. And once we get our little square, that's going to be perfect. We're going to divide our napkins, plies, and see how it fits nicely on there. Pretty much all of the signs, any of the ones that you choose are going to fit. Maybe even the picture frames that are 4x4s, maybe. I don't know, they may be too small. Don't quote me on that. Okay, so this time we're going to leave the word in there. I'm going to decide where I want it. I can pull slightly before I press it down. And then I'm going to roll it out. I know I've showed this in every one, but it's just very important to get a high-end look, to really think of those extra things that you can do to make it look like it's painted on there rather than a napkin glued to something. I mean, that's not what we're trying to achieve, right? We're not trying to let everybody in who sees our products or our designs go, oh, that's a napkin. Isn't that clever? Well, I don't anyway. I might tell somebody that, but I don't want them to just automatically know it. I want it to look like it's painted. And doesn't that look painted? I think so. All right, so I'm getting some double stick tape here. I found mine at Dollar Tree. You can get yours there. And I'm just going to tack down little pieces here and there in the corners. And that'll be enough to hold this to the backing of the bank. So again, finding the placement and then pressing it down. It's got a really good hold too. You don't want to be lifting it up afterwards. So get it right the first time, right? All right, gonna lock it back into place. And this is what it looks like. If you like it like this, you could certainly give it to your children, let them put some summer money in there. Maybe the ice cream truck comes, so they need a little extra money. They can put it in there. Or you can use it for a piece of decor, which is what I'm going to do. And just add in some beads that are the same color, maybe that you used in your other project. Put it in there. You could use beads, you could use little table scatter balls. You could use little miniature erasers if you found them in fruit or popsicle type shapes. That would be really cute too. And now I've got a little shaker box. And it just gives it a little extra something, I think. It gives you an option. This would be cute on a tiered tray if you have a tall tiered tray. But you could put it anywhere. Project number 5. All right, now we're going to paint a mason jar. So I had this jar. I'm going to cut down my napkin. I don't want the sweet summer on there, and for the size of this jar, it just wouldn't fit. Now I'm going to trim it down, take off any excess that I don't need, because we're going to be working on a curved surface and you have a little bit different issues to work with. In order to make that background pop on that napkin, we're going to have to give it something white to be against. So I'm using my chalk paint here. I'm painting all over the jar. I'm going to dry it in between coats and give it 2 coats. Once it is dry, this is how it looks. And then I'm going to decide which side of the jar I want it on, and I'm going to use the side that doesn't have any bumps on it. You can get jars at Dollar Tree that have a design if you would like, but I don't want that on my jar, not for this project. So I'm just going to go down here, now that I've looked at it for sure, trim off anything extra that I don't want to have to deal with. And then decide how I want to place it. I'm going to use some matte Mod Podge because I'm using chalk paint which is matte. I'm going to add some to the top and take my brush and just rub that all over. I love a flat brush. That's just my favorite, but you can use a sponge brush, anything you would like. I wouldn't rub this on for too long because I don't know if at some point that it could possibly lift your paint. I don't know, but I'm not taking chances. You know what I mean? I'm not going to give myself more work than I have to. So I'm going to take this and place it down. Carefully. And you really got to be careful here, because again, this is Mod Podge now, so this is making that napkin wet. It will peel and tear so quickly. You really got to be careful. And I'm just going to pat it down where I like it. I'm going to cut here because we're going around curves, and you won't notice your edges on here once you're done. I'm going to take the same brush that I was just using with the same paint that was already on there, just to tap down my edges. And then I can add some more. Go over the edges here. And then after all the edges are down, I'm going to go ahead and go across the middle and all the way around the jar to lock this into place. I'm using my drying tool, my little heat gun here, to dry it. It really makes projects easier when you can make that paint and everything dry faster. I want to embellish my little popsicles here, so you can find these little sticker pads at Dollar Tree. Mine actually came from my daughter. She used this for her planning in college, and she had some stuff left over, so I'm going to take some of these motivational stickers here, and I'm going to put them down on my jar. and I'm going to put them one on each of the popsicles. So at first you'll see me just lay them on. I'm not really pushing them down because I want to make sure it's what I want and that I like them where they are. And then I can get them centered and right where I need them to be, the right height and everything. Rub those on well, and then, really push them down well. And then get your Mod Podge on your brush and go over your stickers. And this will lock this in to the same layer that your napkin is on. And everything will stay nice and tight and smooth and not peeling off. Now I've got some glitter ribbon because I thought, what am I going to do to the jar ring? I don't like that non-lid look. So I'm going to cut some of this off. They have beautiful colors with the same glittery, it's really thick. And it has like a paper backing. It's a little too wide though for the jar lid, ring, whatever. So I'm going to trim it down. We can modify things, can't we? I do this to ribbons all the time. So we can do it on stickers too. Make it what we need. Okay, so I'm going to peel my backing off and then place it down on my jar so that the ends meet in the back. I don't want those ends meeting in the front of my jar. I don't want to see that seam. So I'm just going to wrap it around there. You could use this jar as a bank. You could use this jar to put your paintbrushes in, your pens. You could use it on your desk. You could put makeup brushes in it. You could do a bucket list, You could do a bucket list for this jar. Just be creative. What would you use a jar like this for? Here are our projects together. We got 5 projects out of just a few napkins. Isn't that crazy? I believe in you, and I know you can do this. You can always find napkins. If not at the Dollar Tree, you can definitely find them in other places. Dollar General has nice things. Get some stuff on clearance after the season. Put them back for the next year if you got space. Really save your money, but make some really cute seasonal pieces for pennies. I would love it if you would subscribe to this channel. I promise I'm always going to strive to bring you the best budget-friendly DIYs that my little heart can pump out and my little brain can figure. I'm going to start off with some of these little miniature pots. 4 of them. A smooth paintbrush and a chippy brush, of course. Here are the measurements. And then some Mod Podge for paper. And some chalk paint in plaster. Look at this beautiful napkin that we got on the Crafty Cruise getaway. Somebody donated these, and I'll be using this today on this beautiful box. This is just a thrifted box that I've had forever. Here are the measurements in case you want to do one of these for yourself. I'm going to start by trying to sand off this word and to definitely give this box a nice smooth finish. Y'all, today's video is very special. It is going to be done with a couple of my friends, and we have giveaways coming, so I'll give you full information on that in just a little bit. All right, so after we sand, we need to wipe away all the grit and the dust. Right, I'm going to grab that beautiful chalk paint. You can really use any color white you want, but the idea is to use a light color so that all the details will pop on the napkin. All right, I am going to start by just lightly putting on some of this paint. I'm going to gradually build this up as I work my way around the box and back to the front. It's a lot easier to add more than to take it off, right? Okay, so we're going to go all the way around and do it just like this. You got it? Simple. We can do this. No need to do the bottom, of course, though. Now, on the sides, I like to have a little more paint on my edges than I do in the center. So you'll see me kind of go a little bit heavier on the edges. But you don't have to do it that way. You can certainly make it your own. You also do not have to do the bottom, but I went ahead and done it just, you know, just for giggles, I guess. If you want a completed project, you can do it. I'm going to use the same technique on those little pots that I have. And we're going to use these pots for feet. You can also use like a little inexpensive chest kit, stuff like that for legs on little boxes too. I'm going to use some wood glue to attach these little feet to the box. A little bit of wood glue here and there. Mine is getting really sticky. Look at that. Looks like taffy or bubble gum. What a mess. And then I'm going to add a little bit of hot glue in the open areas. So we get a quick fix and we get a permanent fix. That's why we do the two different types. But if you have the time to wait, you can just use your wood glue and just give it time to set up. Just read the instructions on the bottle. This is simple, but it is messy. I've had this bottle forever. The spout's all clogged up. That's why I'm using a stick, but you certainly don't have to do it this way. I just keep everything, y'all. I really do. I keep it until I just can't keep it anymore. So we're going to add the next one down. And now y'all know exactly what to do. Continue around until you have all of those little feet on the box. And this box did have the little felt circles on the corners. That's what you're looking at, the little felt circles. Okay, now we have feet on the box. Nice. You could also do it upside down. I'm just going to use a weeding tool here to separate the plies on this napkin. This napkin has 3 plies. We want to be all the way down to 1 ply, but you see how sheer this is? If you put that down on top of the wood, it would really just kind of blend into the background, but I want mine to pop, so the lighter color is going to help that happen. I'm going to use some Mod Podge, and really I wanted just to use matte Mod Podge, so that's why I'm using the paper Mod Podge, but they really, I think, work the same way. I'm going to look and see how I would like to use this napkin, and I like the idea of it wrapping around the corner, so I'll use my brayer and flatten this on out. You need to be very gentle when you use napkins and when you use tissue paper. But yes, you also can use tissues that you wrap your gifts with, but you have to be very gentle. I am very, very lightly going across there, just barely laying any pressure on, because too much pressure and too much glue will cause your paper to tear. We don't want that. So I'm really trying to stretch out the amount of glue that I'm using to make it as thin as possible. I just make it thin and even. If you have clumps in there and it's not even, it's also going to cause wrinkling, tunneling, and bubbles, and you don't want that either. So just be cautious, because the results from decoupage and things like this can really be beautiful. And I hope you like what I do with this box. It's a little bit different than the next 2 projects, but you'll see. It's all inspired by nature. I love the beautiful flowers, and I think this piece in particular is perfect for springtime. Very, very gently going across there. Now I have no bubbles. There's a little bit of wrinkling in the end, which is fine with me, because if you are new to my channel, I love doing rustic and aged look. I love that. And it's so forgiving, because, you know, you can blame it on, oh, well, that's rustic. That's how I intended for it to be. Okay, now I've just folded over my edges, but you can cut that off because I do paint over the top of them. Totally up to you. And this is the same white paint that we used on the sides and the bottom. Drop the brush, very important step. It's not going to get the same results if you don't drop it. Okay, now I'm going to take that Mod Podge and go right down over my edges, just to make sure that everything is strongly in place, and that those areas, if they were to get bumped on anything, they have a little more strength. Beefing it up. And then I'll take my other piece, or another piece. We have quite a bit on the napkin, and I will find my next position. I like the idea of having it kind of across from it on the box. Y'all, these napkins are beautiful. If you're watching this video and you were on the Crafty Cruise getaway with us, Thank you so much for bringing these. My friends who are doing this video will be using napkins as well. Yep, they will too. And by the way, this video is being shown on a Sunday for the collaboration, and I will not be having a video Monday. I will be back Thursday for those of you who have been following me. Okay, so I'm going to take a sander and very lightly rake away the edges, just very lightly raking it across there. Now I know that you've probably seen this, but it makes it easier. You can cut this off with scissors if you want, though. This is completely to your taste. Make it your own. That's what this channel is all about. So now I'm just going back over the edges, like I said before, just to give it a little more security. I'm going to sand off the edge over here. And how pretty is this against that white? Look how beautiful that is. I am loving this already. The sad thing is I didn't have enough of this napkin to do the entire box, but I'm going to show you what you can do if that happens to you. If you use a smaller box, you won't have to worry about that. Or if you cut your sections smaller, you can really stretch it. This is totally up to you, but I'm going to make it work. So thin Mod Podge, very thin. I am taking the extra time to explain the Mod Podging because I've had people ask me about it before, and I want to be sure that you understand and you don't feel intimidated by the method. You can, like I said, really make some gorgeous stuff. I mean, just look at this napkin. This round, lacy looking, doily, delicate looking napkin. Perfect. Wait till you see what I use it for. All right, gonna go on the edges again. It's best if you wait, especially if you're new, till this is dry, but you can do it when it's damp if you feel comfortable. Just don't scoot anything around and don't touch the wet parts. All right, locking in those edges, same as before, just giving that a little bit of extra strength on the edges and on the bottom. Now for the side that doesn't have any napkin on it, because we ran out, I'm going to tear just a piece of crafting paper. This came in a pack that I got from TEMU, and I'm just going to tear around the edge and make it rough looking and kind of old. Now you're going to see me use a different piece of paper. No worries, no worries. I'm going to switch it up. I decided on something else. Same idea though. It's the same pack. Totally fine. And I'm just going to go over that. A little bit thicker of Mod Podge on this, and then put it down and then add another layer of Mod Podge on top, because this is a piece of cardstock paper and it can handle a little more glue. It's going to take a little more to seal it down. Once your piece is dry and all of your little napkins are dry, you can go back over it with some Mod Podge. This is why I like the matte, because it gives a good flat finish and secure everything. You can then dry it naturally, let it dry overnight if you would like, or you can use some type of a blow dryer or heating tool to dry yours. Now I'm using mine to store some old lace. This is old trim that was given to me by a friend, and I really love to use it. I grab for my trims often, using when I'm doing antique or, vintage decor, so it's conveniently in place now and displayed beautifully. We're going to start off by looking at these pages. Now there's a variety of outdated calendar pages here. I've got some wildlife, I've got some beautiful ones with some Bible verses on them and some wildlife. So we're going to use a variety of those. You can also use on the inside cover the little sample pictures. And on the back of most calendars, you can get the little grid, so you can use these pieces as well. The cutting board is going to be our first haul. I'm going to use antiquing wax and a baby wipe, some Mod Podge, this turkey picture. Love the vibrancy in this picture, so pretty. And then I got this. It was originally from Target. We're going to use the back side. We're not going to use the side with the little holes in it. We're going to take off that hanger first. Decide how we want to position this. Do you want the verse or do you want all of the turkey body in there? And I think we're going to slide it up and use the turkeys. This will be good for Thanksgiving. I'm going to fold that over. Now I like to crease it with my fingers. So you can use a credit card, you can use a squeegee, your fingers, some flat surface, even a ruler, to crease the sides so that when you pull it off of there, you know exactly where you want to cut it. Very easy to do. Then I'll use my paper cutter, and you can just use scissors for this. I'm going to line it up and cut that off. Very easy. I'm going to use antiquing wax on here. Now this antiquing wax is not food safe, so if you wanted to use this as a charcuterie board or to put snacks on, you would have to use some type of a stain that is food safe. I'm just going to use this as a decorative piece, and I'm not going to put it all over the part that needs the glue because I don't want that wax to repel any of my glue. I'll go down the sides of the board. If you have a board of any kind, it doesn't have to be this one. You can flip it over and do the back as well. Once that is done, I am going to let it dry, and I will start adding on my Mod Podge. A nice, thin, even layer with no little dried pieces. You got to pick those out, right? Nice and smooth. I'll take my little outdated calendar page and pop that right on there. You can slide it down. You can move it around a little bit if you need to. I like the positioning, so I'm just going to pat it down with my hands and then use a brayer to make sure that it is flat and that every bit of that glue is hitting every part of that gorgeous print. Put the hanger back on, and there you have it. So easy. So easy. If you enjoyed this video so far, I would love it if you would subscribe to my channel and give me a thumbs up. Thanks! I think this would be really pretty just propped up in your kitchen, you know, maybe against your backsplash or anything. A wood cutout is next. We're going to use this owl page, but we're going to save the owl and just use the greenery from the tree. The owl can be some other part. Now this is an owl cutout that you get from Dollar Tree. I'm going to look and see how much I need so I don't cut off too much and destroy my poor little owl on the other side. And then I'll cut it off here as well. All right. Once I know where I want it, this time I'm going to use school glue. And this is just a purple glue stick. It is purple at first, and then it changes color, and this way you know that you've got that glue everywhere. You can see exactly where you've put it, so everything is sticking down like it should. I'll line this up on the bottom, and then just pat it with my hand, and then grab a brayer or a squeegee or a credit card or a ruler, and then make sure that it is flat on your wooden surface. I just propped it up with a piece of scrap wood that we will be using later in another project. Get it nice and flat all the way over to the edges, and butt it up against the bottom. This is so easy to do. We're going to save a ton of money with these projects, and we're going to be doing different seasons. So we're going to be doing some fall and a couple of little winter or Christmassy looking ones too later on, so stick around. Now I'm going to cut around the outside. You can also use whatever, if you don't want to use scissors, you can use a utility knife or whatever you want to use for it. You don't have to be precise because we're going to use a sander to even it out. I'm going to turn it over and just make sure I didn't knock anything loose. Now using an awl or using your scissors, something small enough to fit in the holes of whatever cutout you use, I'm just going to push through so I can see where they are. I do this first before I start sanding these pieces down. And this is not difficult. Very easy to do. So I got some of these sanders from TEMU, and I like using these on small projects, so they work really well. I'm just going to go back in that initial hole that I made and push that little sanding piece all the way up against the sides of the wood and just file up and down until the paper shreds. Be sure that it is dry first, so if you want to leave it overnight, if you want to leave it for a few hours, you can go ahead and do that. If you try to do this when the glue is still wet, you're going to have pieces of it that try to come up. And I want this to look like it was painted on. It's funny, I didn't intend for this to look like it was camouflage, but it really looks like it's camouflage now, and I'm going with it
because we're going to do something special with this owl. You know, owls are camouflage anyway. They're up in the trees. You don't see them until they decide they want you to see them when they fly down. They're all over the trees where we're living right now, and yeah, they will surprise you sometimes. They're so quiet and still. So you can see now I've gone in the ears and I've done the eyes. You can see how it's looking so far. You can also use like an emery board or nail file, whatever. Now we're going to do all of the pieces because there's some feathered areas. We want to do those too. Then I'll take my sander and make sure that I get the edges nice and clean. And when you sand down and away from it, it will just shear off the little excess paper that is overhanging. Very easy to do. This is a micro sander, but you don't have to use it. A lot of us call them finger sanders, but you can also use an emery board for this. And you can go to Dollar Tree and get a pack of nail files and use them for these kind of projects. You can really save your money. Now I'm going to take some of this brown paint. Whatever brown you want will work, because not everybody has antiquing wax, so we'll just use some brown paint. I'm going to go all over the back of this owl, and I'm also going to go on the stand. I'm going to take a smaller brush and I'll be going on the inside of each of the little cutout areas. Now be careful when you do this that you don't get so much that it's globs of paint are coming through the little feathered sections. But if they do, just get a no, just barely damp paper towel and wipe it before it dries, and it'll be fine. I'm going to do the outline of it too, all the way around the edge. And then you can see now where I've taken a very narrow, thin brush and I'm going in each of those little detailed areas and making those brown. It just makes it pop. It just makes it look a little bit more high end. So far so good. And now, you know me, I'm going to do some shading. If you're not the kind of person who wants to do antiquing and shading, you don't have to. But you can do it with paint and not just doing it with, you know, with a special product like an antiquing wax. So you can do it with paint. Just be sure that you offload a lot of it. It just makes a difference to me, and I like the way that it looks. It makes it look more like there's dimension in it, more like an owl. You can see him a little bit better now. And just kind of blend it out with what's left on the brush. This is how the little owl looks, just as cute as he can stink and be. You can use either side. I'm going to show you what it looks like with two different candles. If you put a short one in there, it's going to kind of accentuate the lower part of his body. But if you'll grab a taller flameless candle, put it up top, the light's going to shine mainly through his eyes. But you can still see it through the candle and the other parts of his body, as you can see right here. I did not turn the light off for this project, but you can see it flicker. So this was another easy one to do, right? Come on, y'all, you can do this. A scrap wood sign is our next piece. So I will be using this beautiful print. I hate to cut my couple apart, but we're going to. Here's my scrap of wood that has been sanded. I am going to get my placement, put it on here first before I cut anything. Just kind of make a mark so I know where I want to put, because I can use a little bird on the bottom for another project. And then be sure when you're using a print from a calendar page that you cut that section off that's got the hole in it, or you make some type of an attempt to camouflage that hole so people don't know that it's calendar. So we're going to go back to that glue stick and make a nice even coat all the way over this board. Be sure that you get around your edges too so nothing starts to lift off. I'll add the print down where I like it. You'll be able to move it around a little bit if you're careful. I'm creasing it with my fingernail. And feel free, if you're the type of person who likes to measure everything and cut it out first, go ahead and do that if that's the way that you like to do things. On this channel, I encourage you to make things your own. Whatever technique it takes for you to get to your final result of joy and happiness is what we like to do on this channel. So now I'll go over it with my sander again, and the same technique, down and away, and it will come all the way off the edge. It's going to leave the very thinnest little white line because it's on paper all the way around the edge. And if y'all are wondering, that's a chalk bottom. So that's nothing we're going to worry about. It's going to be on the bottom. We're not concerned about that. So this is how it's going to look. I'm going to grab a water wipe or a baby wipe and some of my antiquing wax. And I am going to color all around the edges of this scrap piece of wood. Now you could do front and back, so you make something that's reversible. You could do this for one season, paint over the top, and then add something new on top of it. Then you're recycling your pieces. You're saving even more money doing it that way. I don't recommend that you try to paint over antiquing wax, although you can. You might need some type of a sealer or a primer to really make it stick. Use your discretion and kind of do some research on that. It's not something I've done before. So now I'm just taking that edge and just wiping this over the little white edge that I told you was there from the paper. I'm just going over it just lightly with that same wipe to give it a slight outline. It just looks rustic and simple, but colorful and beautiful. Now you can seal the top.
Don't forget to like, comment, and share.
Very pretty. He doesn't have his little friend there, but we could easily have cut that little friend out and put it in the picture with him. Totally up to you. I hope that you like this one. Okay, ornaments are next. We're going to take 2 of these little pieces. Love the little birds. Y'all know I love birds. I'm going to take 2 of these little wood round pieces. You can get them at Dollar Tree as well. Some plaster chalk paint and a brush, and a little bit of jute twine. These are just scraps. So I'm going to take that plaster paint and I'm just going to put it around on the inside. I don't want it to overlap onto the wood, but if it does overlap onto the wood, wait till it dries and just kind of get it with an emery board and it'll come right off. The edges of these live wood pieces actually have they're fragile, so you have to be kind of careful with them. They will flake and chip sometimes. Be gentle. Okay, I've got them both painted there. I am going to dry them very quickly before we do the next part. I'm going to take my Mod Podge here. And really it doesn't matter what type of Mod Podge you use. I just like a matte finish. So generally you're going to see me using the matte. If it's something you're going to put outside, you're going to need to use something like dishwasher safe or outdoors, waterproof, something like that. Mod Podge has a huge, and I do mean huge, variety. A little something for any craft. Okay, so now I'm just going to use my squeegee and just put this on here. I'm going to show you, you don't necessarily have to cut this out first to make it work. We're going to set it aside, let it dry. Now it just so happens I have a ribbon spool that will fit right on the inside of that little piece of wood, so I'm going to use that as my template to cut this piece out into a circle. I'm going to show you that you can do a circle, or you can put it on there however you feel like you want to do it. I'm going to trim all the way around there. I made sure that my little bird was in the middle and that I get plenty of the flowers on the edge. Yes. So I'll put it down on top of the Mod Podge and then I'll use my squeegee to make it nice and flat. I've just sealed the edges with the tiny bit of that Mod Podge. And when it's dry, of course, you can go all the way over the top. I'm going to poke a hole with my weeding tool. You can use it all for this too. Why in the world is it in the bird's eye? But it happened to be right there. Did not do that on purpose. And then I'll go around the edge of this one. I had already trimmed it close to the edge of the wood, and all I'm doing here is just going away. I'm not going downward. I'm just, well, at a slight angle. I'm just kind of shearing that off. This is going to give you a thicker white edge, and you're going to be able to blend the edge of that wood with a little bit of antiquing wax and make it look possibly even like it was painted on. So it's 2 options for you for the ornaments. All right, I'm going to pick off all my little stray pieces there. Don't want to leave a huge mess on there. But it will look like this with the little white edge. Here's my little pretty baby, all dry. What is that, an Oriole? Is that what that's called, that little yellow and black bird? And then I'm just going to use the same rag that I used before, or wipe rather, that I used before, and just kind of brush that on the edges to make it look like it blends in with that wood. This is so easy to do. If you're just now starting to craft, I hope that you pick up all the little tips that I'm going to give you in this video, because I believe everybody can craft. We just have to find our little happy zone where we're confident enough to get started. Just start somewhere and just keep going. And all the little hacks that you can get are really helpful for me when I'm learning something new. Okay, so I'm just going to thread this through. It's just a little piece of scrap jute. I'll tie a knot in the end to make a short hanger for this. And where would you use fall ornaments? Well, on a fall tree, of course. Yes. You could also use them as like a bottle topper. You could, hang it around a bottle that you have. You could hang it off of the doorknob in your kitchen. Totally up to you. Just for a little sunshine in your home. And we can try doing something a little bit extra. So I'm just going to blend out a little bit of the lighter color. And yes, I could have not painted this. That would have been fine too. But a lot of crafting is experimenting, right? We learn all these little hacks. We learn all these little tips. And then we experiment so that we can make it our own. This one's complete. And then I decided to add a little bit of orange ribbon to this one. There's little berries on that limb where the birds are standing. So poked a hole in there, and I'm just going to feed that ribbon through. Tie it is in a knot as well. So this will be a longer piece. It's going to hang down a little bit more than the other one. And I'll leave the knot on the top for this one. Then you can go decorate with it. So I've just hung this from some little fall branches that I have, little leafless branches in a copper mug. And you could definitely display yours like this as well. You can get a branch from your yard and put some rocks around it in a cup or a jar and put your ornaments hanging right off of it just like that. Really, really save your money. From a calendar, right? The Thrifted Basket is going to be the next piece. This is the picture that I've chosen for this one. I've got my Mod Podge and a brush and a little basket that I thrifted. It's a little hanging basket and it's blue. And I think it's going to be really pretty with the blue in the background. There's mountains and pumpkins and all kinds of good stuff. So I just happen to have a clear cutout that's an oval. I'm going to use that as a template. I can see right through it. I got these when I was thrifting, y'all. I've still got to craft with them, but I think I'm going to use them for Christmas. And you can see the white line around it. I used white because it contrasts with all that dark color so I could see it. And I'm going to cut right to the inside of the white line. I do not want any of the white line showing. So cutting right onto the inside will make it exactly how I like it. And we're going to put it on this basket. And I know it's thick, but I'm going to show you how you can make it work. So I'm adding quite a bit of Mod Podge, kind of a thick layer here, and I'm getting it down in those cracks too. Now this is also going to strengthen that basket. It's going to make it last for a long time. After some time when you have a basket, they start to fray a little bit and they get dry and the wood slats will snap. Well, I am really hoping that this is going to hold this thing together for a while. It's in pretty good shape though. I can't complain. So when you place it down, now this was an experiment for me, y'all. When you place it down on there, you'll see that if it's the back of a calendar piece, it's a lot thicker. It is not like a regular page. So I'm going, well, this is not going to work. So I grabbed up a piece of sponge, I'm going to spray it with a little bit of water, squeeze out the excess, just use it damp, and I'm just going to pounce it all over this. It's already got glue on it and everything, but this is going to help dampen that piece of thicker paper, so it will, I can, it'll be more malleable. I can move it a little bit more. I want to thank you for being here. This is kind of a long video, but if you are still here, just know that it means the world to me. Every time you watch my videos, that watch time helps my channel. When you give me a thumbs up, that helps my channel. And of course, when you subscribe, you are helping my dream come true, because this is my dream job. And I am working toward 100,000 subscribers. My original goal was Halloween. I'm trying to be steadfast, y'all. I'm going slow though, but I'm trying. It would help if I didn't have so many other things going on right now, right? But it is what it is. If you're here and you're enjoying this, I would love it if you would become part of our Making It My Own DIY family. All right, so you're going to put that aside and let that completely dry. You will know that it is dry when you feel the paper. If it's not soft anymore, you know what dry paper feels like. Now, I just decided I'm going to take my antique and wax, and we're going to make this look a little more rustic. You don't have to do this at all. If you like your basket the way it is, the color that it is, totally fine. Leave it exactly as it is. But it applies fine, nice and smoothly over the top of this Mod Podge. And when it dries, it stays there. I went around the rim, and now I'm going to make it sort of like a cameo, I guess you could say, and I'm going to go around the edge, or a vignette. Maybe it's a vignette. Anyway, I'm going to go around the edge and I'm going to add it, and then I'm going to blend it out. So don't be too distracted by the fact that it looks like I put too much on, because I'm going to wipe it. Now see the difference it makes when you put the wax on? So there's the little wipey, and after I've let it set for a minute, I'm going to gently remove any of the excess. And that's how the little basket's going to look. So it's a perfect small basket that you can put things in that you enjoy, or you can hide your snacks in there. You know, I'm all about hiding some snacks. Peanut butter cups. Yes, and then you can also add some florals to it and put it in a small area. You can give it to somebody you love, whatever you want to do with it. Easy to make, and I hope you like it. The next project is going to be a cookie jar. Okay, Mod Podge again. You see a pattern here. I'm going to use some heirloom white paint. This is a spray paint. I'm going to use this little jar that came from Dollar Tree. It is plastic. Great little canister. And this beautiful little bird and apples. Now, when you turn these on the side, there's a round area on the side. The lid is just a little bit smaller, so it's going to be the perfect size for me to put on the side and still have a little color around the outside. So I'm using a contrasting color. I'm just using a purple pen here because it's going to show up. And then I will take this outside and spray paint it. Here's the little bird. Once I've got this all cut out, I'm going to use a furniture repair marker and go all around the edges to give it a bit of an outline. This is another option for you when you are doing these things, is to outline it. You can also use a paint around the edge. You can use Mod Podge around the edge. My friend Trish over at Crafting Cousins, she uses a little finger dauber and I think ink to do hers. So there's a lot of options for this too. Don't feel like you can't do it. If you go away with nothing else from this whole video, all these 10 projects, know that you can do things in a bunch of ways, and just because you do it differently does not make it wrong, okay? Good. Believe in yourself, because I believe in you. Now look. I love that. Now there's a flat side on the other side as well, so you could do both sides with different pictures, but I think one side is enough for me. I'll just kind of pat that in place really gently, and then I'm going to grab my little squeegee and put it in place. Take all the wrinkles out, the bubbles out, and then set it aside to dry. I'm going to grab some copper paint because I decided I want my lid to be copper. While that's outside drying, I'm going to take some Mod Podge and seal this little bird in on the side, because if he's going to be in the kitchen, he'll be getting wiped down regularly, and I don't want it to come off. There you go. Oh, you should seal it with something waterproof too. So this is how it's going to look. Now I've decided I'm not putting cookies in mine. I'm going to do something a little bit different just to give you an idea. So what if you have a coffee bar and maybe you're not a cookie fan, right? Maybe you're not trying to hide your sweets in an obvious spot. So consider maybe putting your K-cups in here. Take that off and I've got some K-cups. Yes. Perfect. I love this one. It may be my favorite. The bird box is next. All right, so I'm going to grab that maple marker again, the furniture marker. I've already cut these birds out and I'm going to go around the edges of the bird with this marker. When you cut paper, you know it's white. You don't always see it, but when you put the marker or something around the edge, it really makes it pop up from whatever surface you put it on. It gives it a bit of shadowing and dimension, and it really does look better. The last project that I do, I will not do this part because I want to show you the difference. And also I'd like your input, so stick around to the end. Okay, so I'm going to take this box that I thrifted. It's got little rainbows or something on it. And I'm going to use my plaster chalk paint to go all the way around the outside. You can do the bottom as well, but I'm going to save paint and I'm not doing the bottom. Now I'm going to use a wipe with some wax to do the entire inside. And right around the inside of the little handles as well. Let that dry, and this is how it's going to look. It will lighten up the antique wax. All right, now I'm going to find a place for the little birds to live. And I think I am going to work on both of the flat sides rather than the side that has the handles on it. So the leaf was a little bit long. I just cut that off to fit. And I'll put some Mod Podge down. Remember what I said about using thin layers of Mod Podge. If you use too much, it's going to make it wet and it will wrinkle like crazy. And it's very difficult once the page is wet to be able to straighten those out without tearing your piece. I'm going to save you the frustration. Just try to be light-handed with that, okay? And if you worry that you don't have enough glue or Mod Podge on there, you can go back and seal your project after it's completely dry, and then you won't have to worry with the wrinkles, okay? All right. So now I'm going to go to the other side of the box and add him. Now, because the feet were so difficult to cut out and so thin, I thought, well, let's just make him look like he's sitting in a pile of leaves. So I cut another piece out of leaves, and I'm just going to use that there for the bird. He will just be sitting in some leaves. I had a little speck of something on there, y'all. It's always something, isn't it? Always something. And I am going to go around the entire box and put Mod Podge on it, just to protect the wax paint. Always, not wax, chalk paint. Y'all, when you use chalk paint, another tip for you is that you need to be making sure that you seal it, okay? Especially if you plan on it being something that you want to last a long time. You need to seal it. And you can buy sealers for it, or you can use wax for it. Clear wax, white wax, antiquing wax, whatever you want to use for the project that you're doing. Okay, so far so good. But now, because I am who I am, I'm going to be adding some antique wax all around the box. This is going to be rustic. And I think that's what everybody calls a project that looks like it is dirty. It's rustic. My idea is not to make it look like it's dirty, but it's making it look like it has got some age. It has been well loved. It's been scooted around a lot, bumped against pieces of furniture, maybe bumped against a coffee cup. You know, we're giving it some history, I guess. I'm also going to go around the edge of the top with this as well, right over the white, just to, again, keep it consistent all the way through the project. You can go inside there with the handles as well. Y'all, I've got a big bruise on my arm. I'm sorry. I forgot to put a Band-Aid on there to cover it. Real life, right? Okay. So I love him. And you could just put anything you want in here. You could use it as a desk organizer. You can put your coffee cup and your glasses in here. Totally up to you. I've just taken a copper mule here and put the little stir down in there. You know, I've got my little flameless candle there. I'm all ready for a dreary day to have some cocoa and watch some movies. I am good to go with this. And if you flip it around, this is how it looks. I love that it really gives it that old wood look with this technique. There are so many options with calendars. The farm sign will be the next. Mod Podge and a brush. Here is this gorgeous picture. I also used this picture, I believe, on that little basket. This originally came from Target. I got it at the thrift store. I am going to use this in here. Now, if you want to leave it square, you could certainly do that, but I'm going to show you something else you can do that's going to make it look even more high-end. I'm going to color this because in my home, I like the warm colors. So we're going to take this wood that's fairly neutral and we're going to give it a little more warmth just by going around the edge. We use the baby wipe with the wax to give it a more sheer look. If you used a brush, it would be darker. And you can really stretch your wax this way as well, rather than wiping it on, wiping it off, and throwing the paper towel away, right? All right, so I'm going to begin to tear this because I would like this to look like, well, like a torn picture. I want to be able to age my edges, and I want this to look unique. And for me, this will be unique. If you don't like this technique, you don't have to do this. If you have some of those, I believe they're scrapbooking scissors with the different types of edges on them, like a pinking shear, if you wanted to do that on yours, you definitely can. So now tapping that same rag in here, that same little wipe, I haven't added anything new to it. I'm going to bump it all around the edges where that white paper was, and this makes it look old. To me, it looks like something that's been around for a long time. Gotta let that dry first. Then I'm going to start adding some Mod Podge on here. Now it looks like I'm adding a ton of Mod Podge, but whatever this MDF is that's supposed to be wood, it is so thirsty, it is soaking up my Mod Podge. I did not want to use a glue stick on this. I knew it was going to have to be a little bit heavier. I'll find the placement I like and then drop it down. And then I'll grab a squeegee and just start working from the center down and out. This gives you the opportunity to push any bubbles that may be underneath out to the side without ripping your page. Be gentle. It looks like I'm pushing really hard, but this squeegee that I have is kind of like a rubbery consistency. It's not a hard plastic, so it's very forgiving. So far I like this very much, but I want this to look like maybe it was even hand painted. So you're going to grab some type of a hard squeegee or some type of a ruler edge or something, a credit card, driver's license, push down into the cracks. You're going to need to be very careful when you do this. For me, I did it while it was still wet, so I had to really take my time. I would recommend that you wait until it's completely dry. And just pushing and wiggling until it settles down into those areas between the little fake boards. I'm going to take a fine tip, short brush here with my antiquing wax. I'm going to put right down in those cracks. Now don't worry, it's going to look very messy at first, but it's going to be fixed. Don't worry. Don't get discouraged. It's going to look a little too much at first. But it's not a marker, right? If you use a marker in there, you better be sure you know what you're doing because you cannot clean it up. Now I'm taking a dry, clean paper towel and wiping off all of it that is on top of the print. I only want it down into those cracks. I want it to be sunken down in there to make it look like this is possibly painted on boards. Just pushing it right down in there. And we'll do it to the other side too. And then I'm going to be taking it around all of the inner edges of this as well. Just wiping that off. And that's exactly how I like it. See the difference? Now it's all done. Now we can go around the sides. So I'm just using that same brush. I'm just pushing it on the inside here. You can bring it up the little walls on the inside of the edging there if you want to. Totally up to you. And I'll just kind of fade it into the picture area. I don't want anything to necessarily stand out as, oh look, she used antiquing wax. No, gotta be careful. Now I had to move my hanger. This is so lightweight, I'm not even gonna put the screws back in it. For me, this will work. Put the screws in there if you need to put your screws in there. I'm putting this on the side because we have it oriented differently now and we have to hang it, right? Look at that beauty. And you can see the scripture on the top, and I absolutely love it. My friend Kendra will appreciate this one because she is well known for saying this in her videos. What a beautiful picture. Look at all of that beautiful detail. This was at Goodwill, this calendar. Yes. Our winter sign will be next. All right, Mod Podge, squeegee. Yep. Here we go with another calendar page in that same book. It has a matte finish on it. I like that. And it looks like a Kincaid picture, doesn't it? Thomas Kincaid picture. So we're not going to use the front of the sign this time. We're going to turn it around and we're going to do the back. Because at another point, if you wanted to do the front, you could have this reversible. But I'll show you how to do the back in case you don't have a sign with a frame on top. Now I'm going to decide what part of this I want to be seen. I'm going to bend it like I did with the other project that I did. Fold it, bend it down. And then I will be cutting the pieces off. I do lay them up there on that board to make sure I double check. Because this is the only print that I have like this, and it is stunning. The artist needs a whole lot of credit because he or she did a beautiful job on this. Now you can see the scripture on the side that is cut off. It just didn't fit. I'm going to use another piece of that calendar page to mask that. And I don't want to cover up my deer necessarily, but one of my deer is going to get covered. And I had to sacrifice the one deer. One deer's still showing. And look, so if there's something on your calendar page that you want to cover up, you can just take another piece, use your glue stick, put it on there, trim it off, and it is masked perfectly. And then once you get it in place, if you want to seal the whole top of it, it's really going to be masked. I was very pleased with myself. I have to tell you, very pleased with myself when that turned out that way. All right, now we're using the glue stick again. The outside of this trim is going to be sort of like a frame for this print. I'm cleaning up my mess where I got over on the sides. I'll put this down, pat it with my fingers, and then use the squeegee. If y'all found me from my other channel, which is a new channel, I would like to say thank you for supporting me in both places. The other channel's name is Forever Fall Home. And if you haven't heard of it and you would like to see it, I have the link in the description box for you so you can go check it out. It's a little more laid back channel. And yeah, we're growing. We're growing. We're over 1,000. So if you are here and you have been with me and you went over there and you subscribed to support me, I appreciate that very, very much. Going to be doing some fun stuff over there as well. Down we go. All the way around with this trim. I'm crossing it over itself in the corners. Make sure you got enough glue to hold it and it'll be perfect. Now, I think this came from Amazon, but you can get trim like this from Dollar Tree. This does not have any wire in it. You could also use a ribbon or you could use it plain, but I thought for this one, I wanted to make it look a little more festive, but a little more country. So I added this on here. I'm going to pat this in place. I think you can agree that there's a little bit of everything for everyone's taste in this video of hacks. We have a little country, we have some woodland theme, we have some farmland situations going on. Some of it looks a little farmhouse, there's definitely rustic. There's a little bit of everything, right? Eclectic, if you will. But that way everybody can learn. Everybody can find something. You might not like all 10 of them, but there may be at least one that you really, really like and that you're going to go and try to do yourself. Because if you've got an old calendar, then you have some potential. I'm just wrapping this around a couple of sections to bring that down. Like I said, it's country. It's going to be a little more floofy than some of the things that I do. But I used to craft like this. I did. I used to really enjoy the country theme. And now I'm learning that even though I think I'm eclectic, but I just love anything fall. So we're going to see where that takes me, right? We're going to see where it takes me. Don't worry, I do a little bit for everybody. This is how it looks. This is not hard to do. These are not difficult crafts to do. I did all of these in a few hours. So if you wanted to do every one of them, you certainly can. You certainly can. Thanks again for being with me today. You know I love you. The Christmas riser is next. Okay, so I'm going to use a little cupcake stand that I thrifted. This is a recycled round that I got from Dollar Tree. It had family or something on it. It's like 8 inches. Mod Podge, and I'm going to use this calendar picture. Now this is going to be extremely simple to do. I'm going to flip the cupcake riser upside down. I'm going to flood it with glue, and then I'll flip it over on the back side of this riser. Now ideally, you would want to remove all of that paper from the back side of your riser, right? But this project I'm doing because I want your input. So I'm not going to do all the things, right? I'm not going to do all the things. People like to tell me what they would do if it was theirs. So I'm going to take that and run with it. I'm going to ask you some questions about this. Now, the reason I'm using this Mod Podge is because it's matte and I wanted to make it matte. Right now it is very glossy. I am going to cut out the birdhouse with the bird and the bird on the top. It won't fit on there as one solid piece. But you can certainly do this with one calendar page if everything fits that you want to be your focal point, right? You can do that. So hang with me, y'all. Now, I'm going to cut out the bulk of it, and then I'll do my fussy cutting. That way I don't have paper flapping all over the place and getting in my way and having me doing some crazy fit and tearing my page where I don't want it torn, right? So this was already painted a white. I think it's an Adirondack white chalk paint. It was already painted that way. And then now I'm going to put these on here. Now, I did not put any trim, no ink, nothing around these pieces. And I'll show you what it looks like when you put it down with nothing else. To me, this looks like it is kind of floating in the air. It does not look like it is painted on the surface. You know, when you decoupage things, it kind of sense it becomes part of whatever it is that you're doing, like a permanent part of it, right? So that's, you see that it's just floating though. Now, what I want to know is, would you paint the background a different color for this particular print? Would you leave the red bird off and center the birdhouse? Would you outline this with ink? Would you use antiquing wax? How would you do yours? Now I'm going to take a little bit of this ribbon and trim this out. This is red ribbon. I'm just going to trim it. And this is not going to be, again, a food safe thing. This is going to be more of a decorative piece. This is a grosgrain ribbon, and it's just a little thin ribbon, and I'm going to use hot glue to put it down. Now when you're using hot glue, you want to make sure that you press it in place before it causes a wrinkle, because I left a wrinkle in mine. Sure did. I left a wrinkle right in the front. I mean, right in the front. It's a good thing I left this as an unfinished piece that I didn't. Well, you know, you'll see. Anyway, I'm going to continue around here and just rub out that bead. That bead of glue really needs to be rubbed down. You could also use something like that thick, Quick and Thick, I believe it's called, pipe bond. You could put that on there, and then you wouldn't have to worry about any bumps because it would go completely flat. You could use super glue. What would you use to adhere this to the side? If you didn't use ribbon, what would you use as the outside of this? Would you use maybe a ruffled trim, like in Grand Millennial? Who knows? What would you do? I really want to know. Put it in the comments, y'all. Let's give each other some ideas, because this one needs your help. Don't forget to comment down there, y'all. Check out this rectangle for more videos, or the circle if you're interested in subscribing to the channel. Thanks for stopping by.